All right, today is Monday, August 6, 2018. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes CSI implementation group. So I restructured the agenda doc a little bit, and I'm going to try to clean it up because it was getting a little bit unmaintainable. So at the top here, we have the Q3 items that we're tracking. These are the most important things that we want to get done for this quarter. So first up, we'll just do a quick status overview of these items, and then we can have PRs that we need discussion, bugs that need attention, miscellaneous updates, and then tasks from last quarter that need updating. So right off the bat, let's do a quick overview of tasks. Kubelet device registration mechanism. Sergey or Vlad, you guys want to give a status update here?
Sure. I'm not sure if Sarg is on.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute, so I couldn't hear anyone. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure Sarg is on. I think it was Friday we had that meeting with
Yep.
with the folks with the author for the Kubelet plugin. So now we have kind of a path of what are the P0 or priority 0 level tasks that we're going to follow. One of the things that we talked about was how we're going to approach creating a proxy, basically how we're going to expose the socket file, whether we're going to create a proxy, leave it as it's working now, or come up with something else. So that's one thing. And then there are a couple of several other tasks that were outlined on during that meeting that we need to. I haven't looked at in detail yet, but definitely.
Yeah. So I captured the tasks here from that meeting. It looks like they're relatively straightforward. The author of the Kubelet device registration mechanism is going to send out some PRs that will handle things like plugin unregistration. Those are a requirement for going to P0, and Vlad and Sergey are going to help review that. And then there's a couple of requirements from us, our side, to add end-to-end tests exercising that path for CSI and add CSI documentation. And Vlad and Sergey are going to work on that. And then a couple other tasks independent of that work for us. One is trying to figure out how our driver registrar is going to work with all of this. Currently, it has 2 Unix domain sockets. It's kind of ugly and difficult to understand. So the task here is either to improve the documentation or make the driver registrar a proxy so that we have a single Unix domain socket and it's easier for users to use. Vlad and Sergey are going to investigate which path to go there, and then try to push the registration proto into CSI, into the CSI spec. That's also another way to simplify this process. That is a to-do on me, and I'll see if I can get to that. Next item is the CSI cluster driver registry. The status on this is no update since Thursday. So on Thursday, we had a meeting with SIG architecture. They told us that we could install CRD within a core Kubernetes controller. So the next steps for me are to put together a proposal KEP and send that out. I need to hurry up and do this because there's a lot of other projects that are pending, waiting on this. Next up is a new node status field for CSI driver. Jan has been working on this. Jan, any updates on this one?
I looked at it, and since we have the global registry, I don't know what should be in this node status, because attachability will be in the global object, passing workload, right, will be in the global object. So what should be in this shadow node status? I know
so
that
one
Michelle...
is node name. So you have...
Topology would be a really good candidate.
Topology, yes, but is it that important for this quarter?
Well, to implement topology support in CSI, if we want to implement that this quarter, we would either have to have it somewhere. It could be annotation, it could be new annotation temporarily. But
if it is important for this quarter, like T0, then yes, then it makes sense to have this status, and I will do it. I will do that. I'm just not sure because it's not listed in anywhere below.
Topology is listed here as a P0 for this quarter. And Cheng is working on it. So we do need somewhere to store the topology key mapping.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
All right, cool.
I will try to do some proposal.
Sounds good. Thank you. Next up is support for ephemeral local volumes. That is pending on my design for registry. P0 support for ephemeral inline volumes. So this was assigned to Vlad on Friday. I don't anticipate any new progress here, Vlad.
Right. And this is also depend on the design that you're working on, right?
Partially, yeah. I think it would be good to assume that that design exists and start moving the proposal forward, because the hardest part is getting the approvals here. So if we can get the approvals as soon as possible, that would be great. You can say there is a design to have this CSI level registry. When I send out the PR, you can link to it and say, assuming that exists, here's what we're thinking. And I think there's already a proposal out from Jan for this. You could probably just pick it up and say, I'm the new owner for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you mind putting the link somewhere?
Yeah. It's this one here. PRs that need attention. Mine CSI.
If it's already here, I can find it.
Yeah, I'll just actually move it. It'll be cleaner instead of putting it here. So glad to pick up. Okay. And next up, ephemeral local volume pass workload information. It's also going to use the cluster registry. Jan, do you want to try to get approval on that in parallel?
Yeah, I may try. I need to rephrase it, the proposal a lot, and then I can try. Do we have anybody from SIG node? Because for most of this, not on this call, but most of this will need approval from SIG node. So if there is somebody who knows about CSI and should approve all of this.
I don't know if any of the contacts that I know about who are super familiar with CSI. Is Jordan Liggett SIG node?
No.
Okay. So
he's API machinery though, and API approver.
Yeah, Tim is the same way. I mean, we can ask Yuju, but she'll have to ramp up on CSI. I don't know about Derek.
He's super busy these days.
Okay. So yeah, maybe we can ask Yuju, and maybe she can assign someone from her team if she needs to.
Okay.
Would that person apply for my proposal as well, for the ephemeral local?
For the inline volume support?
The inline volume support, sorry, yeah.
I think for that one, we mostly own that API. So I think the only approvals we need are SIG storage and API reviewers.
Okay. All right, I'll take a look to better understand what's in there.
Cool. Then next up is Cheng with topology support. Cheng.
We're currently working on a prototype. Actually doing some implementation work on driver registrar. Was able to try that out, and it works pretty great. Ran into a potential what seems like a bug that I can discuss with you, Vlad,
Sure.
or Sergey offline.
Okay.
Cool. If that ends up being a real issue, feel free to add that to the bugs list below.
Okay, sounds good.
Next up is raw block volume support, where we decided it's just bug fixes this quarter.
Yeah.
And Vlad, I think we discussed offline, and possibly there's someone else on your team who might be able to help with this.
Yeah, I'm setting that up right now.
Cool. Cool. Mount namespace propagation to GA. So I think Brad mentioned on the SIG storage call that he might be able to find someone for this. Brad, is that, were you able to find someone?
I haven't yet, but it's still on my agenda.
Okay, cool. I think overall this should be a relatively painless item. So if you have somebody who is not is new to the team or something, this might be a good item. Cool. So PRs that need attention, CSI driver registry. I will move this up to here. Cluster registry, Leon's earlier proposal link. That goes there. And then we can drop that PR. Next up is pod information in node publish. And looks like this is still outstanding. This is the design for the workload stuff, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just put this link up on top with the workload. I think we already have it here. Okay, so then we can just remove it from here. Okay, next up are bugs that need attention. CSI test bug issue is that CSI test client is disconnecting. Anybody want to talk about this one? Is Sunny on the call by any chance? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Is Luis on the call? Yes. Luis, is this something that you might be able to help with? Oh, it looks like you're already on it. Okay. That looks good. Looks like it's getting attention. Luis, we can't hear you if you're talking. Next up, we actually need Luis's help with, there's a new PR, looks like it's been merged.
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect timing, and looks like this PR is already merged, so
yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And were you okay on the previous one? Anything you want to add to that?
Oh, sorry, I was not listening. So I just want to bring up that we merged in quite a big change to 0.301,
okay.
0-1. So which was to allow the ability to have CSI tests be incorporated into other Ginkgo suites.
Okay.
So, but that introduced a bug where it disconnects the client many times as it says, and it fails. So that was found by this person. They had a proposal which was quite large before, but we found the root cause, and just last Friday, I think, or Thursday. And anyway, just want to let everybody know to still use the previous version, -1, not -2. I think I may have to just not release that one.
Okay.
Take it back.
Cool.
So.
Thank you for that update, and feel free to leave a link to the actual fix that we're planning to go out with.
Yeah, the PR. Oh, you mean that will be -3 coming soon, but it seems that -2 is bad. Maybe I'll just label it. Just say use the other one.
Yeah, and then once there's a fix for it, just replace -2.
You got it.
All right, cool. Next up is scaling issues. We kind of use this as a bucket for a bunch of scaling issues with the provisioner. Does anybody have any updates around this at all?
Matthew said he was looking at it still, I believe.
Okay. Could we have him attend and give status updates here? And like, if he needs help, it sounds like you know, for
yeah, I asked him too, and he was. There's some weird Canadian holiday today.
Okay. All right, cool. Hopefully,
I like how you say weird. Like it's like those guys.
You know, it's one of those fancy Canadian holidays.
All right, cool. Next up is CSI incorrectly sets FS group. This ended up being a more involved fix. Is that correct, Vlad?
I boil it down to basically some of the input that I got. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I just need to sit down and get it done. But if you square it, it's right there. That's what I basically boil it down to.
Perfect.
So I'm going to get that in there and throw it over the wall and let somebody look at it. And that also is probably going to be related to the issue you opened right before you joined from Chris, because he reached out to me.
Cool.
Yeah, he pinged me about it. FS group and access mode.
Pull that up in fact now.
Yeah.
This one.
So we'll probably just do one effort to kind of standardize the access mode and do a better mapping, and then also apply FS group, and that's the sort of thing.
Okay, so to be clear, this is going to be a change on the external provisioner. The one on this one is actually within the Kubernetes core, but same general.
Right.
And yeah, it makes sense.
Same general issues.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Vlad. So status is design agreed on. Will implement. And status will fix along with above. All right. Any miscellaneous updates anybody has, or any other bugs that folks want to bring attention to?
I'll be updating the document with several bugs. Mostly, I think they were open. I forgot who opened them back in June, and they have to do with excessive retries. So probably now is the time to go back into the CSI core and start putting back off logic when talking to the external CSI driver. So I've already collected the bugs.
Yeah, I think it might be worth having like a sit down with Matt Wong to discuss all of these issues with the external provisioner. I think there's like 3 or 4 large kind of scaling issues that we're running into. And if we can, instead of trying to tackle them as one-off bugs, maybe let's have a design discussion to say, okay, here are the big issues. Do we need to do a big refactor? What do we need to do? And then kind of go from there.
Agreed. The bugs that I'm referring to, they look like they have to do with the internal CSI driver. But I do agree that overall, we do need a comprehensive look as far as communication between, because we have so many externalized components.
Yeah.
You know, eventually that issue would have come up where, you know, what to do when you can't talk right away to a component. How do we handle that? And that's what I think, that's what's bubbling up right now.
Okay. And in terms of priorities, for you, Vlad, I know you've got a lot on your plate. I think the features that we're trying to deliver are still the highest importance. The bugs around retries and all that kind of stuff, we can fix that next quarter before GA.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Cool.
I just want to make sure that we capture them and, you know.
Yeah, no, that's great.
We know that they're there.
So thank you for doing that. Anything else?
Quick question, just for my understanding, if you
Sure.
scroll back, I want to make sure I understand the relation between the cluster, the driver API info object and the node information we were just talking about with Jan. This right here, right? We just passed it.
This guy?
Yeah, we were just talking about the right there in the middle of the screen. You just passed it. It's right there at the top of the screen now.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Okay.
So we were talking about the CRD So is this a separate CRD from what we're talking about for the driver information, or?
Possibly. So the driver information is a cluster level CRD where a driver says, hey,
Right.
I'm going to create an object and here are the values that apply to me.
Right.
Then there are a set of parameters for the driver that change from node to node to node. Examples of that are the node name.
Okay.
And topology key mapping, which potentially could be different from node to node. Ideally, it shouldn't be, but it potentially could be. And then Jan was asking if there's other examples of such things, and we currently don't have any other examples. But anything that's basically a node level parameter, we want to be able to have some way to be able to configure that. Today, we only store the node name and we store it as an annotation on the node object.
Right.
What Jan is suggesting is adding in a struct inside the node status for CSI, and it becomes a list where each item in the list contains the driver name, node name, and any additional information. I spoke with Tim Hawkins about this, and what he suggested was potentially a shadow CRD object for every node. So it would essentially be a new object that contains this information plus the Kubernetes node name. And so that way all the information doesn't need to go into the main node object. I'm not sure. I'm okay if the node team is okay with letting us add new fields to it, to the original node object. That'll probably be the easiest path for us.
Right.
If they push back hard, then we might have to explore the CRD thing. That's kind of what's going on.
So that doesn't mean we need to use the CRD, right? I should try the node status first.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Well, if I understood what you said, then I should try the node status first, and if it fails, then propose CRD. Okay.
Yeah. If we can get it into node status and the node team has no objection, let's do it. It's the easiest path for us.
That's what I understood.
And if they push back very hard, then we can say, okay, fine, we can pursue it as a CRD.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Let me clarify that in the status here. So we'll propose as new field in node status. If SIG node pushes back, we can consider separate. Okay. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Yeah, Saad, I'm working on the volume limit thing, and one thing that I was talking to people in Slack as well. Like, have we coded down, or are we planning to put down somewhere that the driver name and the provisioner name is expected to be same, and this is kind of needed in at least for like the limit thing, so that we can use the same name and it doesn't change. Then we can count the volume limit for PVCs that are not yet bound, like for the delayed binding use case.
Yeah, I think Michelle. I asked Michelle to put that in the docs, and she said it was in there already. So let me check.
So, okay. So this will be like a standard sort of that every Kubernetes CSI driver has to sort of like, or Kubernetes CSI provisioner has to kind of adhere to.
Yeah, this cannot be tested by CSI test because it's a Kubernetes specific thing. But that's definitely something we should keep in mind. So somewhere we can test for this in the code, maybe in external provisioner or something. We can warn, right?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
I'm not sure if we could warn. Maybe we could actually warn, but there has to be some sim in Kubernetes. Also the linting layer, or the validation thing that Michelle was proposing. I don't know if you could use that for ensuring something like that. But what is the canonical place to document this, by the way, Luis? I didn't.
There's Kubernetes. Sorry, the Kubernetes.csi documentation.
Okay.
If you go, here's the link. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. I'll review that and make sure it's documented, and maybe we'll carry on the place to either lint it, validate it, or make this happen somewhere.
I think Michelle just told me about it a few days ago, so it should be on 1.6 storage or WGCSI is one of those two. Let me take a look.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you find that link, just go ahead and paste it in there. If not, we'll make sure to follow up on it.
Yeah.
Cool. And before we leave, I wanted to just see if we can close up on these P0 tasks for V111. So what we had left was updating the internal docs. Luis, any updates on the status of this?
Sorry, I was looking at the docs for a second ago.
Sure.
Yeah, the driver registration, I think. Let me get back to you on that on Wednesday. I think that it's all set, but let me get back on you.
Cool. I'll go ahead and remove these green ones because they're just taking up space. And then kubelet device plugin registration, we basically moved to this quarter, so we don't have to track it separately. Block volume support has also been moved to this quarter, so we're looking good there. And then the last thing I wanted to discuss was for the Kubernetes CSI repo. I am currently an owner of the organization, which allows me to create new repos and delete them and move them around, that kind of stuff. The CNCF folks are coming in and asked me to add them as owners, and now they're trying to kick me out of ownership of the organization. I'm trying to push back to see if I can maintain ownership at least until we go to stable or GA. But if I'm
owner, if you don't,
so it's the CNCF folks that'll be owners of these guys.
Wait, what? What? This is a Kubernetes project. It's not CNCF.
Well, it's the Kubernetes. The people that the TOC basically makes org owners or whatever. There's some process.
So that's fine. With this one, and then we'll move all our code to another one.
External CSI too. But basically, if I'm able to maintain it, that'll be good. If not, then we'll probably have to go through these guys if we need to make any big changes.
Any new repos and stuff like that?
Yeah. If you guys need repos or anything right now, let me know before Wednesday. We'll get something.
I think we're good for now.
All right, cool. I think that is all. Anything else anybody wants to discuss?
I do have a question.
Yes.
So we start to work on the changes in the provisioner. So for create volume from snapshot.
Okay.
So this involves this core API change to add the data source. So that means the changes in external provisioner will be dependent on those changes. And then it's hard to work on the the vendor file changes because DAP does not work. So currently we just manually copy those files over so that we can move forward.
Yeah.
Is that how? I mean, this is the right way to do, or is there a better way? Looks like we have to wait until the core API changes are merged before we formally submit a PR.
Can I
Sure
give you my opinion? Right now, I feel that I've been looking at your PRs and it's so massive that even GitHub says like it's too much, right? To review. Okay.
Not this new code, right? Not yet. I don't think I haven't seen that.
I'm just suggesting that you just check in the code. This work that you have is still like alpha, still in development. Just merge the whole thing. Just continue working until it's done, and just make it easiest for you is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay.
And once you say everything starts to become more stable, then we'll go ahead and start looking at it.
So hold on a second. So external snapshot is fine because everything there is CRD. We don't have dependency there. It is the changes we are going to make in external provisioner.
Yeah. Maybe make a branch for that, maybe.
Oh no, but we need to modify the external provisioner because we need.
That's what I'm saying. Make a branch in external provisioner.
Just make a separate branch so we can check in code there and then merge code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
Wait, why can't you just fork the repo and do like a PR to it?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
So is and you're
just
saying
make our own temp.
It's both. It's 6 on one hand, a dozen on the other. It doesn't matter. Just don't put it in master. That's what I'm saying.
Margaret L. Bonham, MD.
Sorry, so I want to make sure I understand the issue. Is the issue the mechanism of how you should contribute, or how you should manage the dependency, considering that Kubernetes hasn't merged yet, but you need to make the changes on the external provisioner side?
Oh, I just wonder what is the easier way for us to do this, because right now we have to manually copy everything over.
I think just like for your local private repos and your fork, you can do whatever is most easiest for you. And then once the core Kubernetes changes merge, then you can update your stuff to point to the official Kubernetes repo, and then you can submit a PR against external provisioner.
But that works. Are you working, Jing, with another person in this same
I'm working
branch?
with Jing, yeah.
Yeah, see that.
So they can coordinate on their own fork, right?
So I think Luis was suggesting that we create another branch on.
I would prefer not to do that.
No? Okay.
Let me. You just create. If you fork it, right, and you add that another person that can merge into your branch, you can do that.
Yeah. We are already doing. So I was just wondering if there's a better way. So
that's fine. I mean, normally you can also create a branch in the same repo, but if people are against that, that's fine too. So.
Okay, well, just for now,
like having folks that are pushing stuff directly to the main repo, because that results in sometimes accidentally pushing stuff to the master branch.
Okay.
So let's avoid that if at all possible. And in fact, on my team, I suggest people set upstream to the main repo and origin to the forked repo, and then set push to no push for your GitHub push to upstream, so that you can never accidentally push to upstream.
But you should, the way I'm trying to say it is that you don't push Git into your branches. You still send a PR into a branch. So it's still the same. It still follows the same system.
Okay.
It's just that now the location of your community work is viewed by anyone. See, the thing is, when you put it on a fork, I can't see it, right?
I see.
But if you put it in a branch, then anyone in the community can add work to this. and it becomes easier to manage. So, but it's still a PR.
Yeah, I'd be more open to that. But if you guys can get away with just working in your fork, since it's just the two of you, I'd be okay with that, since it's the path of least resistance, honestly.
Yeah. Whatever's easiest for you, that's what I say.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, concerns, comments? All right. Let's make this week very productive, and reminder that we have less than a month left until code freeze. So let's get to it. See you on Wednesday.
All right, man. Thanks. See you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.